This afternoon, we will switch from the perspective of the public bodies to the perspective of the private stakeholders. So I think that's one also of the added value of this project compared to other initiative where member states can share experience like the concerted action EED, is that on our side, we don't have restriction. We can invite every relevant stakeholders. And so that's why this afternoon, I'm very happy that we have one representative from a stakeholder group from each of the schemes that have white certificates. So you will have one speaker from Spain, then Italy, then Poland and France. So I think that's quite a good mix. And I'm very happy to introduce, to start, Esperanza Sánchez González from Naturgy, who will tell the first experience with the Spanish scheme. Esperanza, the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much to the Institute for European Energy and Climate Policy for inviting Naturgy to participate in this interesting workshop. It's been a pleasure hearing this morning about how white certificate schemes are successfully working in France, Italy, and Poland. And it's been also very interesting the way UK, Ireland, Croatia, Cyprus are facing the energy efficiency obligation schemes. It is a big opportunity being here, sharing and learning among different countries about this policy instrument, which brings such energy savings for our continent. I personally would like to thank my compatriot, Pablo. He's not right now here, but he and his team are doing a really good work to bring white certificate schemes into Spain. And they are working very hard to do things correctly, so this can perfectly work from the very beginning. Please let me introduce Naturgy to those of you who don't know about it. Naturgy is a multinational group in the energy sector with 180 years of history and 16 million customers based in Spain, with presence in Latin America, Italy, Australia, and USA. Our vision for the future lays the foundation for continuing to create value through the energy transition, betting on renewable energies, developing renewable gas, thanks to the leading position we have in the conventional natural market. We also promote energy efficiency and circular economy. In fact, we have recently launched Naturgy, a registered and unique brand to help our industrial and big customers to reach net zero emission goals via realistic strategies and targets, establishment for investing in energy efficiency, reducing greenhouse gas emission, and contributing to cost reduction thanks to biomethane, hydrogen, solar technology, as well as carbon footprint, digital calculation reduction, and offsetting. Regarding the energy efficiency obligation, we support 10% of the total amount in Spain. To achieve energy efficiency goals, in 2014, Spain established the FNEE, the National Energy Efficiency Fund. The ESCos we have been supporting as an obligated party between 2014 and 2022 were stable and predictable. In January 2023, the Spanish government published the regulation which establishes white certificates in our country, and energy companies can deliver these certificates to the fund instead of paying the amount established. The delivery is voluntary, 40% in 2023. This percentage will progressively increase until 85% in 2025. As I said before, payment amounts were stable during recent years, but in 2023, the payments have doubled. And the expectation is it will undergo exponential growth in the years to come, both in volume and price, which are set by the government. Both volume and price might increase within up to 14 times the current amount. So this uncertainty is one of the issues we see as an obligated party. The main regulation has been published in January, but the different legal requirements and application forms weren't ready until November. The due date to process paperwork this year was December 1st. So all of us were in a big hurry at the last minute, which is the reason why not many white certificates were issued, but at least some of them were. This is a good sign, despite regulation slowness. Delegate party and verification companies must be accredited by the Energy Ministry. These accreditations are taking a long time to be proceeded, so as an obligated party, today we can only ask 7 delegates. Pablo said this morning 9, but we can see only 7 in the webpage. Last week were 5, and last month there were only 3. Another difficulty could be the operative process. Once the investment is executed, energy savings must be approved and documented as in other countries. As I observed, We have an additional step in Spain. An accredited independent verification company must handle a report needed to request the white certificate, with its costs and time, although this must be necessary to ensure the system is solid. While a national electronic platform is developed, expectations are 6 months at least, the application must be delivered to 19 different registration windows. 19, because this is the number of autonomous regions in Spain and energy jurisdictions, which relies on each one of them. As you know, there are standardized energy saving investments and unique ones. The standardized ones are part of an inventory called the catalog, a catalog measure that make it easier and quicker to get white certificates. Here in France, you can find more than 200 standardized measures, while in Spain we have around 50. It is a good start, but we need to accelerate the development of our catalog. Lastly, finite clients are now starting to hear about the white certificate system and how they can take advantage of them. So what we, the stakeholders, have is the task of explaining it clearly and bringing the public the white certificate schemes. These are the 5 main disadvantages I consider we already have, and consequently the challenges are, apart from bringing to the public white certificates, first to gain visibility on next year's volume obligations and trust in a free market price. Savings, as in other countries, must account accumulative instead of year-by-year measuring, which will give fair significance and push high efficiency investments. Second, administration agility in order to have more delegates and verification companies on board. Digitalization, an easy and intuitive platform that facilitates user interactions and transactions. Working with a bigger catalog. Let's learn from advanced countries, but also adapt the standardized measure to our national features. We must trust in technology improvement and focus on energy efficiency. Sometimes imposing what we believe is the best political solution towards decarbonization can delay the main objective of European Energy Directive. I'm an electrical engineer, but electrons are not the only solution to have a cleaner world. Giving 2 examples. Green fuel for road transportation is now delivered in oil stations, and natural gas substitution by biomethane is a reality and a real opportunity to decarbonize the building sector without huge investment for the end customers. Why dismiss efficient boilers as a standardized measure if they can work with green gas? Just look at Denmark, for example. 40% of its network is using biomethane. The Spanish are positive and cheerful people, so let's move on to the big general benefits and opportunities we can see. White certificates will push energy efficiency investments simply because this investment will be cheaper. The majority of the energy savings will be obtained in the industry and building sector by reducing the need for additional primary energy. To bring customers at direct benefits, less energy consumed leads to lower energy bills. That means more household purchasing power and more industry and market competitiveness by reducing operating costs. Standardized and singular measures lead to boosting economic activity and often leading to increased employment. I'm going to skip this slide because I only have 1 minute and all of us know these benefits. Let's move on to the opportunities we see as an obligated party. Naturgy has established its energy efficiency solution business for more than 10 years, helping Spanish society in their decarbonization. White certificates are an additional mechanism leading the energy transition. We will increase collaboration and communication with the ESCos we have been working with for a long time. White certificates mean for us an opportunity for improving the expansion and excellence in our current commercial portfolio and enriching it with saving solutions potentially convertible into certificates. It brings greater possibilities of customer loyalty through energy efficiency advice and energy services. Finally, if our clients improve their carbon footprint, our Scope 3 will also improve and we will be more competitive. To sum up, the first months of implementing the white certificate system in Spain has been full of opportunities with both regulatory and market challenges. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Esperanza. We can take 1 question. If there is, you can say for the question. No, sorry. If there is no question from the room, I have one. So you presented at the beginning the long history of Naturgy and the various activities you had. Does it mean that before the White Certificate Scheme started, you already had activities that you can rely on now to deliver certificates?
Yeah.
Or do you have to develop completely new programs on your side?
No. We as a company, as I said before, we have a business direction. It has 10 years and is an ESCO inside the company. So, no.
So you're already operational.
We are ready.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot. Now we will be moving to Italy. So we stay in the Southern Europe. And you might recognize the speaker from this morning, but he will present his experience from a slightly different perspective. As he presented, Fieri works with ESCos, so that's what we are dealing with this afternoon. Yeah. And okay, you can tell more, Dario.
Yes, as a young couple in my condominium put a carpet in front of their door saying, "Oh shit, not you again," more or less. It's the same now. But I swear that the idea was to have GSC this morning and ESCO this afternoon, a colleague in place of me. And since I'm here, well, nothing has gone not as planned, but nevertheless, now I will do the same presentation of this morning with two different details to check if you were listening to me. Now, as Jean-Sébastien said, in our membership, we have really all the energy market, and so also many ESCos, even if there are in Italy, at least 3 associations representing ESCO some way. And so I'll try to tell you what an ESCO can do in the Italian scheme, more or less. Starting from a consideration that all the national schemes dealing with energy efficiency allow for ESCos to directly participate by presenting projects and then promoting what kind of business model we want with their clients. So they can promote, for example, energy performance contract or simply be as acting as a simple consultant to present applications to the specific agency, depending on the specific energy efficiency scheme. As I told this morning, and this is the only same slide, ESCos can play an important role here as one of the parties that can, in fact, present project and then sell certificates on the market. In fact, they always played an important role. There has been a period of time in which the 90–95% of the certificates on the market were produced by ESCos. So this is instead the situation in 2022 in terms of issued certificates, not the number of proposal presented. That you can see ESCO are around 60% of projects, then there is 38% from end user companies, and okay, distributors are not so active, but this is due also to the fact that in fact they are very limited in actions, because apart producing certificates related to energy efficiency interventions towards their networks, they in fact can't implement energy efficiency actions with their customers or end user customers. So what can do an ESCO in the White Certificate Scheme? First of all, present applications, and that means writing the applications in terms of all what is needed. So the ex-ante evaluation with all the measures required to measure define the baseline, which is energy consumption, plus all the variables that affect energy consumption. So the effective production, if this is a production company, manufacturing company, or the climate, or the occupancy of the building, etc. Secondly, we can add to this some form of energy services. And by the way, nowadays in the White Certificate Scheme, the only way it is possible to collect energy efficiency projects implemented among different users is to have an ESCO with energy performance contract. Otherwise, it is no more possible. This is an anti-fraud measure. that, in my opinion, would be more than enough to ensure no frauds will be implemented anymore. But nevertheless, they decided also to cut off all the standardized measures. More than that, the ESCO has to writing the proposal also what the meters are for the ex post metering, the algorithm used, and all the information relevant to GSE for the acceptance of the applications. Now, an interesting thing with the Italian experience is that there is a certification for ESCos. So, in fact, this is not a willing part, but it is an obligation. So in order to participate to the scheme, and not only to the scheme, ESCos have to be certified according to the Italian standard 11,352. So the question can be why there is a standard for the certification of ESCos. The reason is that it's linked mainly to the white certificate scheme in its first years. Because of course the certification can be introduced to ensure that in a developing market, market operators are qualified and can effectively overcome the challenges of that market. But in that case, in white certificates in the first years, the regulator authority that was managing the scheme decided to say, okay, projects can be presented by ESCos, and decided also to define what an ESCO is by saying an ESCO is something that is in its corporate purpose has written something like we offer energy efficiency services or energy efficiency technology. So practically everyone can be an ESCO, even FIR, if it wanted. And more than that, it published a list of these would-be ESCos on the website. And that was good with the white certificate scheme. But after some years, the market was interested in real ESCos for implementing energy services and energy performance contract. And all these would-be ESCos, which were around 3,000, has not such capability, but they were on a public list on the regulator website saying, we are the ESCos in Italy. And so in order to go over this confusion, a certification scheme maybe was needed. And now we have around 1,000 ESCO. To be certified as ESCO, you can find in the presentation what the requirements are. One of the requirements is to have implemented at least one energy performance contract and to be able to implement all the energy performance contract as defined in the Energy Efficiency Directive as needed. So to end up with the ESCos, the ESCO market in Italy is quite developed, I dare say, even if most of the ESCos are small companies. And so this is, of course, a limit, especially if the business model you want to promote is really something which you finance the project, really push towards the implementation of it. But there are a lot of small ESCos that, even if you are not so much capitalized, in any case, we have a lot of competence and skills in this market. So it's very interesting to have ESCos in a white certificate scheme because they really can change the rhythm, and they can really push towards the implementation of an energy efficiency project. And also ESCos can learn from supporting different end users among other energy efficiency options. So in the first year of the scheme, ESCos acting as consultant in the industrial sector learned really a lot of the opportunities in that sector. And then they were able to replicate such opportunities toward different clients in the years to follow. That was really interesting and important. So the ESCO market, ESCos can help the white certificate schemes to develop, and at the same time, the white certificate scheme can help the ESCO market to develop. And so these are interesting points. Weaknesses in our scheme, okay, you need time to develop the ESCO market if you don't have it already in place. You need simple project to start up, because if you go towards complicated things, that is an additional barriers. But in that case, we have such projects in the beginning. And promoting energy performance contract, which is one of the value added for ESCos, is difficult if you don't have a mature market for ESCos. Opportunities, capability of development outside the white certificates boundaries. This is something that happened. The push also to the promotion of energy services like EPC, which was also interesting. The collection of a lot of insightful information by operating with different clients. Among the threats, well, the threats are related to there can be good ESCos, there can be bad ESCos. And so a bad ESCO can be the main push for frauds too, as it happened to Italy. But in that case, the problem is that both companies weren't ESCO. They were just bad companies created with the idea of okay, stealing money from the public and from the end user, in fact, since the white certificate scheme is financed by tariffs on electricity and gas. And the ESCos can limit their action to just present proposals without moving out to more interesting added value options, especially if white certificate scheme is working very well, like it was in 10 years ago, more or less. And I showed you in the morning, because in that case, a lot of money can be done acting as a consultant, considering that in that area of our scheme, it was possible to present large projects, very interesting projects, and ESCO maybe were able to get 7, 8, 9% of amount of money produced by white certificates for projects that can value hundreds of thousands of euros. That meant really a lot of money. So such ESCos becomes very large in very short time. Then with the crisis of a white certificate scheme, the opposite happened. They all went in crisis. The larger one were all by utilities, but at the same time was trying to enter the energy efficiency market. And the small ones, some of them disappear, or some of them are still in litigation with the administrative tribunal, trying to recover the white certificates blocked by GSC in 2017, 2018. So ESCO can play very different roles in white certificate markets. In Italy, we more or less saw all these roles, all the possible roles, and are very important, in my opinion, to both promote such schemes and at the same time benefiting from such scheme, both from their own account and for the larger account. Thank you.
We can take 1 or 2 questions again.
Thank you, Dario. So thinking about the international aspects of white certificate programs, I wondered whether any of the Italian ESCos were taking up opportunities in France, or were thinking about opportunities in Spain to undertake actions that would then lead to them being able to sell.
Well, I think this was bilateral, because I knew both a lot of foreign ESCos trying to enter the Italian scheme, not now, but in the past, and also the opposite. So I know in recent years of small, medium ESCos that try to enter alternative schemes. Maybe not necessarily on the white certificate scheme. Perhaps on I knew one that went to Spain, but for photovoltaics installation, not for energy efficiency. But of course, this I think is one of the interesting point of the European mobility. So you can find opportunities in other country if your country at a certain point of time becomes restricted, and then maybe come back when times are more interesting. Yeah.
Any other questions to Dario? Or you can also, if you want to speak with him more confidentially. There will be a coffee break after the session. So,
but I have a flight, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so maybe if you last question, last opportunity to get to know about Italy. Otherwise, we will move to Poland again, and I'm pleased to welcome Piotr. I don't know our. Okay, so Marek, you can make his presentation. Okay, so then we will exchange the session, and I will pick up him to go, and maybe you will replace him. Thanks, Dario. Okay, so we move to France then. That's no problem. We are flexible. We are, as the obligated parties should be in an obligation scheme with changing rules over time. So we need to be flexible as well. So I will welcome instead, and I'm very pleased to do so, to welcome Alice Monnet on stage from Teksial to present a very interesting study you do every year, right? The barometer. So I guess with Italy, we spoke more on the industrial sector. So now we will speak more about the residential sector. That was supposed to make a transition with the next session, but so we will take a bit of advance in the meantime, and I will look for the Polish speaker doing that. Je fais juste le partage d'écran. Vous voulez parler ici avec le micro, comme on préfère? D'accord. Je fais juste le partage d'écran pour les participants en ligne.
First of all, I would like to deeply thank both the AT2E, of course, but also Jean-Sébastien, if you come back, for your kind invitation. I am Alice Monnet. I'm the Director for Public Affairs for Teksial. Maybe before we begin, a few words on Teksial. So Teksial is one of the main French ESCos. We were founded in 1987, and we are also what we call in France un délégataire, meaning that we directly participate to the French white certificate scheme through, I would say, kind of regulated production of certificates. About the barometer, indeed, it is one of the first barometer existing on the residential market because we led it since 2016. And one of the main strengths of this barometer, it is that it relies on both a wide and representative panel of French consumers. It enables us to track evolutions of the needs and to track new needs, of course. And just for you to know, it is to some extent in open source. So feel free to have a look on it. Today, we will focus on main barriers and levers we can understand from the analysis of the barometer. First barrier, maybe it's no surprise for you, the financial resources barrier. Over the period 2016-2023, French consumers say they could dedicate around 3,000 euros for their renovation works. 3,000 euros. Is it a lot? Is it not a lot? Just to give you an idea, today, considering existing financial supports, a low-income household living in a house and wanting to insulate the walls of the house would have to spend around 7,000 euros, just for you to give an idea. But as you can see, recently we have an increase of the available budget on average, the two past years. And one explanation could be that French authorities have led deep communication campaigns 2022-2023, linked to the geopolitical context we all know, which has quite tremendous impacts on energy bills. But maybe let us pay attention to the figure on the right side of the slide. As you can see, a quarter of French consumers have 100 euros or less to dedicate to the projects. 100 euros. It's, to me, a striking figure. So first barrier, financial resources. Second barrier we can understand from the analysis of the barometer is awareness, the knowledge. On average, and again, it's a striking figure, 68% of French consumers are unable to name any support scheme. And especially, as you can see, when it comes to white certificates, we can see, let's say, that there is still some way to go. And this lack of awareness also affects the knowledge of the level of energy performance of the house. As you can see, 54% of French consumers do not know their home energy class, A, B, C, D, you know. But as some of you may know, French government plans a major evolution for next year, which is that now to benefit from support schemes, at least the public support schemes, households will have no choice but to give a paper presenting the starting point of the level of the performance of the house, D, E, F, G. So second barrier, awareness. And it could explain what I call the French paradox in the renovation. The paradox being, on the one hand, half of the French tell us that they want to renovate, but at the same time, on the other hand, they say they are not planning to renovate. So this is a paradox. And to tackle this paradox, what we understand, again, from the analysis of the barometer, is that there is a need for more technical support. 3/4 say they would like to entrust their renovation project to a single service provider. It means that they look for a complete support on the whole life of their project. And of course, I'm thinking about energy audits, support with the choice of the professionals, help with the administrative files to get the subsidies, access to loans, and so on. And of course, ESCos can be part of the solution to provide such a wide range of solutions. Okay, to hot or too cold. So if you allow me, Jean-Sébastien, I don't know about the, okay, thank you. A very quick focus on what French consumers feel. What about comfort? What about discomfort? No surprise here, at least on the left side of the slide. French people say, 44%, that they are cold during winter, despite the use of their heating system. What is quite new, though, is, and it's a new trend, is that French people say they suffer from heat during summer. So, to me, it really means that it is maybe high time that French subsidies encompass more broadly this need. I'm talking about support for sun protections, for example, specific insulation, high quality ventilation, for example. And maybe a last word on one of the interesting aspects of the results of the barometer, deep renovation. And I understand that it is also a debate which occurs, more generally speaking, in other member states. So we asked people about their needs regarding the kind of works they would like to carry out. What do they say? They say, we want to insulate the walls. We want to install solar panel. we want to change the heating system. And, well, at least today, only 16% say they could consider deep renovation as a realistic project in the next 2 years. And as you may know, in France also, we have quite a lot of passionate debates about this question of deep renovation. So to summarize, still some barriers, though the white certificate scheme in France exists since 2005. Lack of financial resources, still a lack of knowledge of both the public and the private schemes, need for a complete support, technical support, financial support through the whole life of the project. Well, at least again, regarding residential markets. But good news, several levels we see continue the promotion of national communication campaigns, of course. We saw that it worked last year and this year. Continue to promote what is one of the very important strengths of the French mechanism, which is the combination between public subsidies and private subsidies, white certificates. ESCos to be part of the solution, of course. Renovation as an answer to the growing issue of summer energy sufficiency. And well, we didn't have time enough to talk about that, but we are deeply convinced that we have to further embark the banking sector in the renovation journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alice. I think your slide showing that 2/3 of the French people cannot name any public subsidy for renovation show the impact of changing names of public schemes every year. So obviously, you don't remind it when it changes all the time. Any question to Alice from the room? Yes. Okay. Dario first.
Hi, it's Abby from Energy Saving Trust. I just had a question about the national awareness campaign, and I know there's Prime Rénov' as well in France, and if you've seen these have an impact on consumer awareness and motivation for action.
Your question was about national campaigns, right?
Yes, and the advice service as well.
Okay.
If that's had an impact.
Well, about national public campaigns, in France, since last year, we had a very strong boost towards what we call sobriété, sufficiency, and it worked. It was the goal was a reduction of 10% of the final consumption, and it worked. People heat less. Maybe they were a little bit colder, but well, it's finding the right balance between cold and energy bills. And again, this year, French government did it again, and so far the results are not so bad. But one important point is that we are talking about sufficiency. So, okay, great, but we are convinced that we need more in-depth solutions, renovation, for example.
Yes, I agree, because in Italy it was the same. But first of all, if the energy prices goes down, maybe all this sufficiency will disappear. And secondly, we need something else. I was wondering, in the last chart, you showed that people, were requesting, for example, insulation of walls, but not deep renovation. But in fact, if I insulate the walls, most probably I will change the heating system, most probably maybe the ventilation system, and perhaps also putting some panels. So it's not that just some sort of deep renovation, or here is a definition more strict, like, I don't know.
Big debate. Big debate, but well, the way at least we ask people was very straightforward. You want only installation, only change your heating system. And here are the results. But of course, if you ask people, first of all, do you want to insulate, then change your heating system? Then it comes to what we call in France the step-by-step deep renovation, which is part of the solution. Because, well, we will see next year, because there is maybe this morning French representatives talk about that, but we have a quite major reform, evolution of the subsidy scheme to boost deep renovation. So we'll see what happens. Really, we don't know. For sure, we know that not all French people will be able to go into this journey. Yeah. But it's very smart to think in terms of step-by-step deep renovation. Maybe this is part of the solution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice. We can. Yeah, but Wolfgang, I'm sorry.
I will afterwards.
Yes. Yeah. You can continue the discussion about the coffee break, or maybe we can come back at the end if we have more time. But now I'm happy to welcome to the stage, and thanks again, Alice, Piotr Krysik from KAPE, Poland. Just give me 1 sec. You can start your speech if you want.
Okay.
I put the
presentation.
Exactly.
Okay. So first of all, sorry you have to wait for me. I didn't run away. I just made a mistake, but I am now. And during my presentation, I will introduce you the energy savings schemes in Poland by the business and energy customers' perspective. Mainly, I will focus on the white certificate scheme and its impact on the new investment in Poland. Okay. Thank you. So, according to the Polish law, we have 4 ways in which energy companies can fulfill their energy savings obligation. The first way is to direct investment by obligated companies at the end users' infrastructure. The second way is are white certificates, and white certificates has a high popularity in Poland, and the system is mostly directed to and mostly attractive and effective for the intensive energy consumers companies, but does not motivate to savings some sectors like real estate sectors or residential building sectors. Why? I will tell you in a moment. And then third way is to pay a substitution fee. It's an option, and I will tell you about this also. And then fourth way, a new way, it's that we implement in 2022 is to implementing and developing non-refundable subsidy programs. And obligated companies are co-finance investments like replacing heating sources at residential buildings or connect them to the district heating. What is the most essential features of the white certificate system in Poland? First of all, it only applies to the investment that have not been started. The system is supposed to encourage new investment. The system requires an energy efficient audit. And company which I represent make that audits, and we make it for free until our client will get the white certificates and sell them on the market. When our clients gets money, then pay us a fee for this for a part of that money. It's very attractive because we are taking all the risks about the investment, and they are likely go with us with that process, and they are not alone, and don't have to pay before we have money. The third fact is the minimum energy savings in one audit is 10 TOE. It's a lot of energy, so a lot of investment are out of the system, especially in residential house. But we can aggregate some modernization and make one audit, one application for a few buildings. It's possible. And next problem or that we can handle is we in one audit we have to describe the same type of projects. I mean, in one audit we could calculate savings from insulation. In other audit we can calculate from lighting modernization. We can't connect these investments, even if they take place in one building or one company. Next thing is sometimes it is not clear who will own the wine certificates. Is it the investor who paid the expenditure, or the customers who consumes less energy thanks to the investment? It's also not so clear. But I told you that one of obligation is the new investment, and is it attractive? In some cases, yes. These cases are retrofits in energy-intensive heavy industry infrastructure. And let's look at the example. It concerns replacing equipment at steam boilers with a 90 megawatts capacity. It's a huge boiler, and savings are 1,500 TOE final energy, so it is a lot. So the money that we can get from the selling white certificates are about 3 million zlotys, and it is about 19% of investment costs. And simple payback times without white certificates was above 8 years, and with white certificates is less than a year, thanks to that system. But look at the other example, also industrial example. This investments is to replacing 5 water pumps. Of the total capacity of pumps is above 700 kilowatts, but the savings is only 36 TOE a year, final energy, and the our income from selling white certificates is about 13% of money we have to spend to do that investment. And the simple payback time due to white certificates will be shorter, but not too much. The same with the lighting. The impact of white certificates from the economic perspective is even less in the case of lighting replacement. This is a project that investors very often undertake because it is technically simple and gives quick economic results, but gives don't take us a huge huge value of white certificates compared to the investment costs. The least attractive from the perspective of the impact of white certificates on the profitability of investments are building thermodernization. In their case, the income from sale of white certificates is amount only about 7% of the value white certificates compared to investment cost to wall insulation. The simple payback period is not significantly different for investment with or without white certificates. The benefit of white certificates do not encourage thermodernization to a great extent. And for window replacement is the same. The income from selling white certificates is about 13% of the investment value, and the simple payback period is nearly half a year shorter. What are the conclusions from the obligatory incentive effect and the financing of only planned investments? First of all, a non-responsible investor will decide to carry on the investment just because white certificates will make the project profitable. At the same time, the income from sales white certificates is just such an excellent addition to the project, but it's not often a reason to undertake these projects. This is because the income from selling white certificates is very uncertain. The value depends on momentary price on the commodity energy exchange on the market. And this graph shows you how worth are the 1 TOE in zlotys. And this price fluctuates. Recently, there has been a continuous decrease of value of white certificates, which means that the number of white certificates on the market is high. The graph also shows a massive increase of the price of white certificates during 2021. Because at that year we have low changes, and the obligated companies thought they could fulfill their duties to by substitution fee. They thought we'll use substitution fee or not buying white certificates, but turns out they could only 20% of the duties using by substitution fee. And when they know that, they started to buying white certificates and the price increasing rapidly. But I think it will not happen again. What are the conclusion of minimum energy savings? That it has to be 10 TOE. It's a barrier for some companies because it's, like I said, a lot of energy, and especially in the buildings. And many buildings are too small to count on white certificates, and then we have to prepare one audit for not one, but several buildings or more. Let's see on the table how much walls we have to insulate to get 10 TOE. And the number of surface, it depends on the age of the building and the thermal insulation of walls and the heat source. And in some cases, it is enough about 1,000 square meters to get 10 tower. But in some cases, we have to connect and have to find a buildings that total surface of walls will be above 5,000 square meters. So it is a lot. The same is with lighting replacement, with light source that have a lot of using energy, that the capacity of using of light is huge. It is enough to replace about 50 lights, but when the capacity is very low, we have to find about more than 1,000 lighting points to collect 10 TOE, and this is also hard in some cases. Unfortunately, connecting project in a single audit is also tricky because there are some projects that we can combine and other projects we cannot. And for example, we can combine when one audit installation of walls with replacement of windows and modernization of heating system. They are described on the same point 2 of the Polish Act, Polish regulation, but replacing lighting and in the same building, maybe connect them to the heating network cannot be in the one audit, despite they are in the same point 3 of the regulation. It's a mess, but we have to handle it. So for me, it's all. Thank you for listening.
Thanks a lot, Piotr. I think that was very complimentary for the morning presentation on the Polish scheme. Is there any question from the room? Before you think about your question, I have a few. We were discussing with Sam, so there were a few things that. Yeah. Okay, so that's just one that follows the end of the presentation. Then I give you the word. But the others are also invited to join the discussion. That should not be only the ENSMOV Plus partner asking questions. So feel free to jump in. You showed this threshold and the difficulty. Does it mean that there is a difficulty, or even it's not possible for the players who want to submit applications to white certificates to aggregate projects?
It's hard to aggregate projects because when the company has a lot of buildings, but in these buildings is one owner, it is quite simple because he told us, I have that 10 buildings and I want these 10 buildings make them thermal modernization. And in that case is easy. But when we try to aggregate different buildings with different owners, there are a lot of papers, a lot of documents that we have to prepare, because then we don't know who will own what certificates and who will take the effects on his side, because only one company could have the effects, and when are a lot of owners, we don't know, and it has to be one aggregator, one company like my firm that I represent, that we told the Polish Energy office who verify the audits, that we take the benefits and represent these owners. And then we know how big the buildings they have, and know how much money we can get to give them, and it is connected with the savings they achieved.
Okay, so that's also an issue of ownership of certificate. Okay, Wolfgang, that's your turn.
Question. One of your conclusion was for me rather strong when you said the white certificates or the saving obligations are an add-on and things would happen. And at that moment, I was really struck and thought about the presentations from I think Margot this morning when she talked about additionality and materiality, and in a way one could very strongly conclude, okay, none of these schemes would then be eligible for reporting there, but that's now a very strong statement. But that was a bit provoked by your conclusion. Can comment a bit on how severe this can be
for the answer. I think that is
So just to add on to the question, so I saw that some of the changes in the or some of the paybacks for some of the measures are already quite low, so maybe that's right. But you mentioned one example where the payback went from almost 9 years to less than 1 year, and in that example, I thought, well, surely that's made a big difference. So anyway, just a supplementary to that question.
It depends from energy source, because some energy is expensive, some energy is cheap, and when we save a lot of energy, we thought that this investment are attractive because we spend a lot of money, but a lot of money will be saved thanks of the saving by energy. But sometimes when the prices of energy are low, the price, the benefits by the white certificates will change the economic results, but it's not often. And in my opinion, white certificates not often encouraged to do new investments. When the investors knows that they do some investments, they really want to get white certificates, but not in the other way. It's hard to convince some investors to do some investments because you will get white certificates. With white certificates, there are a lot of risks, like value of white certificates on the market. Also, we don't have special sheets that can we calculate the savings. Auditors propose their own methodology, and the Polish Energy Regulatory Office will check this methodology and agree with that methodology or not. And then we have to replace an audit or explain or measure this savings and the way is tough, and sometimes we have to wait a lot of time to get white certificates. My colleague on the morning told that on the act it is written that the office has to gives white certificates about 45 days, and sometimes we have to wait a half year, a year, even 2 years.
That's a good point, but I think, okay, we have 5 minutes now to before the coffee break, so we have still a time for discussion. And I would be interested on this question of additionality. I think that that's a good topic to close this session. If there would be other stakeholders or even representatives from public authorities in charge of the schemes in other countries who have different opinions about the additionality of their scheme or the actions, and that could, I don't know, share their experience about that. So I don't know if anyone want to react on that, because indeed for someone else and me, that was a bit surprising to hear that. I understand your point. And indeed, when the application process is complex, so that's not only, as you say, that's not only a matter of economic incentive, that's also, if it's too complex for the applicants to get the certificate, they may be discouraged. And so if they do it, probably that's just something that goes, let's say, the cherry on the cake. But I hope it's not always the case in every scheme, especially in France. So I don't know if maybe some of the participants here would share experience on that, on if you have some evidence that what you provide to the panel customers, for example, is a clear, makes a clear difference. Or maybe we have a topic here. Because behind, yeah, okay, there is a lot of money. Well, what I can say from the long experience of the French system, I remember, so every 2 years or so, there is a national seminar of the French white certificate scheme that was yesterday for this year. And I remember one that was maybe almost 10 years ago or so, where one of the speakers was representing a big company. I don't remember which one, but that was a very big company, not an energy company, a beneficiary of the scheme. And that was, I think, a financial director that was invited to speak how they see the scheme. And what he was telling was that, you know, when I had to make the decision, or maybe that was the technical director speaking about the meeting with the financial director. And he said, when I went to speak to the financial director to get the decision about what would be the investment next year, so there were many options possible. And when he came with we have this catalog of standardized operation, and there is the logo of the ministry on the top. And believe it or not, but the fact that he came with the printing of the fact sheet of the standardized operation with the logo of the ministry, then the financial director say, okay, I see this is a serious investment, we will go for it. So sometimes the additionality of the effect is not always where you think it could be. So maybe that was a very particular example, but okay, you see that's something you remember. Because many years after, I still have it in mind. Anyone else would have similar examples to share? That something you have discussed with somebody? Yeah, Dario, of course.
Yeah. Since we always don't speak, we speak. No, but just to remain on the subject, for example, in the golden era of the white certificates, yes, there were a lot of applications, and okay, you could present the proposal after implementing the project. So some would say, okay, but where is the materiality? You already implemented the project. Maybe you even didn't know about the white security scheme. But in fact, you have also to consider that period of time, there was really a lot of speaking about white certificate. So every company, in fact, has an energy manager that can speak with a CEO, because there was so much money that can be done thanks to the white certificates that everyone was eager to know about that opportunity. So even if maybe in some particular projects this materiality was so clear, in general, it was very clear. So in fact, there is also maybe a system additionality that has to be taken into account. And then, of course, related to the economic effects, the fact that we are giving a premium to the savings means that all projects with a short payback time get a lot of money. All projects with a long payback time don't get such a strong incentives, which is inherent to this type of incentive. And this can be a limit, because the risk to give too much money to short payback time investment, at the same time not be able to really push long payback time investment without correction, like, for example, the town multiplier in the Italian scheme in the past, or something like that. Actually, is the years allowed to get certificates.
Anyone still to continue? So maybe one conclusion, and I can make the link then with what has been presented this morning. If you remember, several of the schemes that have been presenting this morning have some kind of sub-targets of sub-obligation, because they are special incentives. So you have the Irish scheme, for example, where you have this 5% and 10%, 5% for energy poverty, 10% for energy poverty. The UK scheme, that's probably the best example, because that's 100% focused. And in France, you have a combination. So you have the sub-target for energy poverty, but you have also the special bonuses, the coup de pouce, which shows that indeed maybe when the public authority wants a market, a specific target to be reached, or a specific market to be developed, you can do it with either the
basically all the standard relationships you have.
exactly.
If there's a specific action you want to target out of the purely political decision, then you give a better price to this standard operation ship without any calculation, but you get a very pinpointed action on a certain type of investment. At least you don't disturb the whole system.
Yeah, then you have the discussion about, okay, letting the market do, and you will get this type of analysis that, okay, we are not sure if we let the market do that, it may go where actually there is no incentive needed, because that's the easiest. So that's the risk. And at the opposite, you can also see, and I'm quite sure that the French stakeholders will confirm that when you have a big incentive like the coup de pouce, we have seen some quite major increase in the market of some particular actions.
It's called money press.
Yeah. So with that, I will not keep you away longer from your coffee break. I thank again all the 4 speakers we had this afternoon.